Okay, welcome everyone. This is a special day for us all. This is our last class of the 8-week fast track. It's really flown by. I mean, it always does, but been such a great class. I really appreciated getting to know all of you ladies, and some of you have been around AFT a little bit, and it's been really neat to have the combination of some experienced folks with their questions and some brand new people. And you've all just had such a journey. It's been really a pleasure. And all the questions you guys ask, just, that's what really stimulates me, is finding new ways to describe what we're doing. And I love to see all the transformation. So let's see. And I see Misha's here. And Misha is, she's just registered for the next round of certification. So she's going to be starting next week. So it's really could be exciting. And let me see. So normally the way we do this class is one of the certification requirements is to write a little essay about your journey. And in the essay, I ask the students to describe a little bit about where you were before you came across AFT or before certification, and what made you decide to take that leap and join. And then what were the main things that really struck you during certification, either something that you really learned or experienced, or a breakthrough you had personally, or a breakthrough you had in working with clients. And then finally to talk just a little bit about where you want to take this. And of course, this is just the beginning. Finishing certification is just the beginning of this whole journey through all kinds of adventures, which could include setting up a practice, doing group sessions, marketing yourself, continuing to grow as you progress as well. So all those things are going to be in there. So thought what we could do is we'll just go around, and if you wrote something, you could read it. If you didn't write something, that's fine too. You could just kind of tell your story from that perspective. And we'll take a moment after each, if there's any questions of that person, either an existing student or if anyone who's watching. We have a few people in the background here, just seeing what's going on. Any questions, either you can put them in chat or even unmute and ask as well. So let's see, I tend to just go Hollywood Square style, and I see Jade in my upper left, so I'm going to start with you, Jade. So I don't know how people get placed there. It's not my department.
Every time, and I'm like the last one in. I don't know.
I don't know. The Zoom gods are angry with you today. I don't know, but you could lead us off, Jade. Thanks.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Jade. Goodness. So when I first came into AFT, I got introduced to it actually when I first started my oil journey about 4 years ago, and I didn't like it. I didn't vibe with the person that was facilitating it. It was in a group. It was really uncomfortable for me. I don't think I was in a place to release emotions at that time as well. And that's something that I realize now, that I don't think it was so much of them than it was me. But then I got introduced to it when I was doing this home-based revolution, where part of the first week you were supposed to do AFT. They had somebody come in and do that. And it was just breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough in a group setting online. And I was ready at that point. So I sat on it for about a year before I decided that I wanted to be really sure before I made the commitment, before I jumped in. So I prayed a lot about it, and it just kept coming back up and coming back up. So I finally decided to take advantage of the discounted price and strike while the iron was hot, because I knew I really wanted to do it. So I didn't realize how disconnected from my emotions I was, and I didn't realize that I was stuffing so many emotions. Everybody here has heard me talk about it. For the people who don't, I'm a recovering alcoholic and addict. I have 10 years of sobriety, and we go through a lot of personal development in that. And I thought that I had dealt with a lot of my feelings, but I had just accepted the feelings, analyzed the feelings, and didn't deal with them. So it's been a lot of dealing with a lot of stuff that I didn't realize what was happening. And it's so amazing to me that I feel like the Aroma Boost is the sneakiest TMRT on the planet. I finally did them, Dr. Perkis. You were a sneaky man. Okay. Every boost I have done has turned into a TMRT with somebody. Is that normal? Does that happen a lot?
It can. It depends on who you're working with. It can
It,
happen. Yeah.
every boost I've done over the last week since I've taught, it's turned into a TMRT. They've all been hybrid sessions. So, and then for myself too, they keep turning into TMRTs. And I'm like, what is this sneakiness? It's amazing what procrastination, how deep rooted it is and stuff. So that is what I've definitely realized. And it's been such a blessing to be able to connect with my emotions and address some situations. And it's kind of weird. And I don't know if anybody else who's gone through this program can identify this. When I walk through something and I've been through something, it's like it turns into kind of like billboards on people. When you've been through something, it's kind of like if you spot it, you got it. And I'm starting to see stuff in people when they're just talking. And I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. I'm like, So just because stuff I've been through. And then to just kind of finish it out really fast, I came in with the wholehearted intention to help people with adrenal fatigue, because that's what I do. I'm a wellness coach and I help women restore their energy and so forth. And a lot of it has to do with stress. And a lot of it is obviously connected to our emotions that we're not capable of dealing with, that taxes our body. And then obviously this is something that I want to use with my sponsees and pretty much everybody I stumble across. They're like, oh, I feel this way. And I have to stop myself from being like, where do you feel that in your body? Like this weird, I'm like, oh, I gotta like stop myself anytime somebody says, I feel this way. And I'm gonna be like, well, where do you feel that at?
Or maybe you don't have to stop yourself.
Right. I did it to somebody the other day and they were like, huh? I was like, all right, it's fine. We don't have any oils. It's gonna be okay. So yeah, that's where I'm at. It's been a very interesting journey for myself. And it's been quite the self-discovery, to say the least. So I'm very appreciative to be able to walk through this. So thank you.
Thank you. Round of applause for Jade. Yeah, thank you. I've really enjoyed seeing your progress over the weeks, and you kind of like resisting some things, and then knowing you'd have to go through it, and then being grateful you did when you do. So a couple other points you mentioned, I just want to touch on. It's true that some people, their first AFT experience is not all that great. They could be in a group, it wasn't the right time for them, or maybe they were, with a practitioner who really didn't do a good job of getting the goal set properly, and they just kind of called it in and didn't really feel it. So that's just a little reminder when you ask someone if they've ever experienced AFT, if they're like, yeah, I did that, they may not have really experienced it in a way that they could experience it. So, don't be afraid to come back around and say, well, sometimes second time's better, everyone, and groups, as we've talked about, groups can be a mixed blessing. Many people get wonderful results with them, and there's some people in every group, frequently, that don't quite get it. So yeah, just come back around. Also, I love we talked about connecting with your emotions. You didn't realize that you were disconnected. And it's true, we can think, well, I've had these feelings for a long time, but we kind of still keep them at bay. Like we accept that they're there. Oh, I have an anger issue. And you just, okay, well, but you never really went through it. And what we do with AFT is really about going through the emotion and coming out the other side. And that's what we learn to do. Also how these boosts turn into TMRTs. I think that practitioners call people to them. I really do believe that. And the fact that the people are going there with you shows that they're ready to go through it with you, and that there's something in you that helps them feel safe enough to go there. So, as we say, once you've experienced something, then you're in a place to hold that space for others. So, what people are, I've always I mean, I felt that forever as a therapist as well, that, why do these particular people come to me? And, we get the clients that we need, either because they need us or we need them or some combination. So it's kind of a magical experience. So I enjoy that. And you ever seen that that Young Living shirt that says, I'm secretly assessing your oil needs? We've all done that, right? And it's so true. Like, once we know what's possible, someone's talking about, oh, my sinuses, we're like, the same is true with AFT. And that should be the next t-shirt we make. I'm secretly assessing your AFT needs.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, because it's true. Once you start seeing it, that's great. So yeah, can't wait to see what you do with this. And yeah, if you end up developing a whole program with adrenal fatigue or with recovery or whatever it is you end up doing, you definitely keep us in the loop on that. Let's see, Jen will be next.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
I kind of did my story a little bit on Tuesday, but I'll reiterate it. I've been in the food world like 2 decades, I guess. And when I found Aroma Freedom, it was the answer that I had been looking for. So my food journey has been on like diet binge for so long. And then the last food relationship I had was actually pretty traumatic for me, in that I was so only eating about 4 foods. And I realized that in that moment, I was really focusing on my behavior and how to heal with food and all of the supplements and all of these outside things. And the one thing I was missing was the mental emotional aspect. And so, but I didn't really know how to bridge this gap between what I knew and my behavior. And that's sort of where this void was until I found AFT. It was like, I know how to eat, but yet my relationship with food is garbage. Why? Right. And it's like, we have a plethora of information out there. So it's a lot more than just what we know. And so divine intervention, someone randomly just said, check out Aroma Freedom. And like Jade, my first experience wasn't that great, but I was like, there's something special here. And so I ran and got the book. Devoured the book in a weekend. And I was like, oh my God, how do I get certified? There was a certification course starting the next month, and I did it. And for me, I was like, this is what I've been waiting for. This is the answer. And because, as most of you know, when we have a struggle, the whole reason we need somebody else to support us is because, we're naturally wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. And so even though we might know we have a struggle, it can be hard for us ourselves to go through it. So even though I have tools of Aroma Freedom, I needed somebody else to hold space. And so after I took the Aroma Freedom course, I wound up taking a course in eating psychology. And so it's been in the last year, I've used my principles of eating psychology alongside Aroma Freedom, and the transformations I want to cry almost. The transformations I've had with food have been incredible because of the pain. Someone else described this to me as it was trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma, because the reasons I was using food in that way was because of past trauma. And it was because of like AFT that I was able to figure out when it exactly started. But then I thought I had a problem with food. So then I was trying to fix the food. And then I was creating another level of food trauma. And so it was just, this work has changed my life dramatically, because our relationship with food mirrors our relationship with life. And so the transformations I've had with food have rippled out into other areas that I have a renewed vitality. Whereas before I was feeling so defeated and so hopeless, and why even bother anymore? And it was coming out in the choices I was making with food, and also not showing up in life with my family, my kids, just sort of low-grade depression. So I will be forever grateful for this technique. And it was after Aroma Freedom and eating psychology that I felt compelled to finally share what I knew. Because before that, I had certifications in food, but I didn't feel confident sharing it with people because I was like, I struggled. How can I go out and share? And now that I have this tool, I feel like I have this tool that nobody else in my field has. And so I'm really excited to share it because I have seen firsthand the shifts and I've seen it in my clients. And so my mission is to really get this out and continue to create the awareness and create the transformations in other people.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I love that. Can you share with us either an example or just kind of in general, like how you now integrate everything you know about food and AFT with a client? Like, are you doing this both in one session or alternating sessions, or how do you integrate that?
So I do a little bit of coaching and I do a little bit of Aroma Freedom. So I have decided to make my sessions 90 minutes. So it allows for me to kind of get updates, see where the client is. And I'm also looking over at an overarching story of what they came in and what they desired as far as what they want to get out of working with me. And then I'm listening for also some underlying themes they may not be aware of. And so I will use AFT instinctively and overtly. Like they might come and say, I have this goal of, like, I had a client say, I'm like constantly craving chocolate. I'm going into my kids' like Halloween stash or whatever. And so it was very easy to just sit there and have that simple goal of let's shift that, versus other people where I'm sort of listening for where the control is. And then I'm creating sort of a bigger goal that will expand their soul, will kind of expand more of the quality of life that they have. And so I will say, I'm seeing this going on. I'm getting the sense that that this would have a great impact on you. What do you think? So because I'm a coach and I see how the food and their life are running side by side, I will use AFT to help them transform and get them going like faster. And that's where I see, I will attract people who've had therapy or have done other things. And they're like, what you're doing with these oils is really incredible. And I had another client who didn't want to go out to the store because she had gained weight and was embarrassed people were going to see her. And she is like blown away that she went to the store, head held high and proud. It's just, so yeah, I use it side by side. I use a lot of instinct, and my intention is to keep them moving. I'm not talking to the logical. That's what I love about this. When I was in my coaching, to see this through the lens of Aroma Freedom, when I was in my coaching thing, and my teacher, who's brilliant, was like, all right, we have got to do these. He called them like mind cookies. So he would say, we have to do like an intellectual intervention. And I'm like, oh my God, sometimes it's like talking to a brick wall. I don't need to do that. I just need to use AFT and they'll get their own intellectual cookies. Like it's just, and I just find it's a shortcut. It's a shortcut in the coaching world. I don't have to convince anybody of anything. They're kind of figuring it out for them. I have the knowledge base and I can hold them through a container, but they're able to see things on their own, which is more sustainable and sticks.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Yeah. Couple things I want to touch on there. When you said trying to fix my food issues gave me food trauma, and that's a whole layer of trauma that people who are seekers and into self-development, and maybe they've learned a lot about nutrition, and then it kind of almost backfires on them because now they're beating themselves up about the nutrition, or they learn a lot about exercise and now they're beating themselves up about it, or whatever it is. So we can be traumatized. There are people who have church trauma because, they grew up, or school trauma, things that shouldn't be bad for them, but they are bad for them because of the effect that it had. All those things we need to clear out. I am familiar with Mark David's work a little bit, and this is psychology of eating. And one of his insights led to one of my insights. One of his insights was that everyone's talking about what food should I eat, and they're not talking about who is the eater that is eating that
Yes,
food.
that's what I always taught. That's my segue into AFT, because I'm like, you're so focused on what to eat, but who's doing the eating. And as we shift who you are, and we shift the mindset. And that was my biggest transformation. As soon as I started to shift who I was, I naturally wanted lighter foods. I naturally wanted to eat vegetables. And I was instinctively turned off by like boxed mac and cheese. It wasn't a fight. It's just, that's not who I'm vibrating as anymore. That's not who I am anymore. So yes, I get really excited, but yes, that's.
So then check this out. Okay, so then that got me to think, here I was using essential oils. Everyone's talking about use this oil, use this oil, use that oil. They're talking about the oils. They're not talking about the person who's using the oils. So what AFT does is it gets the person into a certain space so that they can, when they smell the oil is transformative in a way that may not have been 10 minutes earlier when they were just sniffing the oil. By pulling together the feeling and the thought and the body and the image, and then you smell the oil, that's when all this stuff happens. So it's kind of similar concept of focusing on what is the state of being that we're in before we go to this, which is why I say that this is psychology first and aromatherapy second. And that's kind of the order that we do things in generally with this. So I love it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That was cool.
Yeah, and speaking of food, my cat needs to be fed really quickly right now. Hold on a second.
Dr. Perkis's background's on point. Looks like you can walk all the way down that fall hallway there.
I know, it's fun. Let's see, Patty, how about you go next?
Hello, everybody. I'm going to read so I don't get off track and talk about something that has nothing to do with this.
Sure, that sounds fun.
In 2013, I had a little dance with cancer, and I became a certified life coach after that. And I had a really deep desire to help people. I never figured out how to make it work, and I became really discouraged and gave up. So at the beginning of this year, I was still a senior citizen working way past retirement age because of my finances. And I had really no compelling purpose to my life. I enjoyed the work at the chiropractic college, but the pay was poor. Also in January of this year, I turned in my resignation to be effective on June 30th, right before my 69th birthday. And that freaked me out. I was too tired to work anymore. But at the same time, I found an understanding of Aroma Freedom techniques, and I began working on myself. This is my little book that I used in the beginning to do sessions on myself, and I didn't even know what I was doing, but it worked anyway. Doing Aroma Freedom sessions on myself allowed me to experience this transition from employee to retiree almost without any angst, which is amazing to me. In addition, I had the clarity of thought to figure out my finances so I could survive financially after retirement. The amazing change in my inner world during this transition showed me the true power of Aroma Freedom. And for those people who really wanted to change, it is possible. I wanted to be part of that. And I began to look for a way to afford the training to become certified. And I had a friend give me some money to help me pay for the class, which was really sweet. And she's one of the people that I work with every week. We're on our 8th session. So the classes started a little over a month after my retirement. Several personal factors created some challenges for me. I had not slept enough in July, and I was still very tired. I had some troubles with my vision and learning curves that almost knocked me off course. But, you know, as they say, nevertheless, I persisted, doing sessions on myself to stay present and focused, and the sessions on my volunteers and their courageous work just opened my heart and softened the hardened places in my soul, and actually gave me a new purpose and direction for the rest of my life. I'm deeply grateful for Aroma Freedom and how it is changing me and my volunteers. The changes are so breathtaking, and I'm excited that I'll be certified soon. And it's a privilege and an honor to take Aroma Freedom to my community, wherever that community might be.
Thank you. It's beautiful. Yeah, I love seeing all the changes that you've made. And you mind if I tell people your age?
No, I'm 69.
69
I'll be
years
70.
old, 70 years old almost. And it feels in some ways like you're starting a new life.
I had hoped that that's what I could do at retirement, and it's been delivered to me. So I'm really feel really blessed, really privileged.
And I'll just share a couple things that Patty, early on, one of the sessions, I think we did it in class, was you didn't feel like you could get anybody to be your volunteer, like you couldn't find people. And we did a session on that, cleared away all those doubts you had about being able to find people. And then you were inspired by Jen's story of how when Jen had taken it a few years back, I think she had said she had done 75 sessions on people during the, right away in the first few months. And that inspired you. You said, well, if she can do that, I can do that. And then
Right.
2 weeks later, Patty's coming in, yeah, I saw 12 people and I did this and I did this. And yeah, just your level of confidence and your level of excitement. And when you saw the types of changes that people were experiencing, that's really where it hits you, because that's the ultimate gratification, is, seeing the effect that you can have on folks. So it's been really awesome.
It's better than anything I've ever studied, work done, because it's so quick.
Yeah.
And it's for the client, it's just so seamless. I was this way yesterday and I'm this way today. And it's not like, it's almost like they don't even see the difference. It just, whatever has been bothering them disappears. And that has been so phenomenal to me. So,
Yeah.
and I guess the same things happened to me, but I haven't noticed it, but other people have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. I remember that when someone said, oh, because I had forgotten too, we had done that whole session on you. It's like, that was a different Patty. That wasn't even you, who
Right.
doesn't even relate to that Patty now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true. That's what happened. And sometimes we do have to remind our clients, the changes they make, because yeah, once an old identity is gone, like it's not even there anymore. Wonderful. Thank you. Melanie, how about you? Let's hear your journey.
Yeah, very interesting journey, I guess. I ended up finding AFT because of one of those group classes, downline and all of that. And I had such a great transformation just in that I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen if I'm actually going to be, in person doing it on one-on-one. And at that time, what happened was I was looking for, I was ready to shift. I was ready to let go of everything that was all the traumas that I had gone through. And I just went through every type of therapy possible that you can imagine. Like if you say a therapy, I probably did it, And when I found AFT, it was just so gentle. It was just so welcoming and comforting, because a lot of times other therapies, I would go through it, but I ended up sometimes feeling more traumatized leaving than I actually went in. And with this, it was just a no-brainer. It just like the feelings just melt away, things just melt away. So it's incredible. So I wanted to do that with parents with autism, because I'm a parent with a child with autism, and I know that we have PTSD. There's studies on how we have PTSD the same as combat soldiers. We deal with loss, we deal with shame, we deal with guilt, we deal with like so many things, in our day-to-day. And I want to really be a support system for moms, because I felt that pain, and I was able to use AFT to, come out of depression, because I had been depressed my entire life. And this helped me be emotionally stable enough that I didn't need medication, because what happened was I would just be here and then all of a sudden over there. So just a lot more stable. And the oils and AFT has helped me get to that point. So, I can imagine so many wonderful things, for, the parents and anybody, like I was talking to Jen this week. I'm like, before I just wanted to do autism moms, but now I'm like, whoever, anybody, just come on down, let's work on, whatever's going on. It's a lot more lighter, feeling about it. And I don't know, it's been amazing every side. One of the clients that I had was having a lot of social anxiety and panic attacks. Oh, was that on me? I think that was another page I had open on the other side that came up. But one of the clients that I had was having panic attacks and couldn't be in a social setting for 2 years. Had to quit school, had to quit job, had to quit everything. And then one session of AFT, and she's going out and she's going on dinners and, like coming back to regular life. I mean, where can you find this, And then it's AFT. So I'm just completely like thankful and appreciative and just loving this journey.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, parents of autism, my goodness. Yeah, the trauma, from as soon as it starts and before it even starts. And it's such a challenging situation. And, as parents, we tend to put ourselves last, especially if there's someone who needs more than we need, then the focus is all on helping them. And just like healers, the same way, who's going to heal the healer? And so the self-blame and the criticism and the doubt, everybody's questioning you, and so family conflicts and doctor conflicts. There's so many levels. There's so many places you could intervene. And I want you to do that, but only if it feels right to you, So as you go, you'll find who you're drawn to. And now, it may be that population. It may be that you realize,
Yep.
I feel called in a different direction. And that's one of the joys really with AFT, is the freedom to be yourself. Freedom to make your choices of what's right for you, and realizing that if you don't do what's right for you, it's not going to be right for anybody else either. So having that freedom is so important. Would you mind sharing just a little bit about your struggle with the fact that your brain needs to really understand things at a deep technical level before it will allow you to do it? Because that, I know, came up a couple times in class as it was just holding you back, and somebody else might benefit from that story. Could you just share that?
Yeah, I think it was a lot about control, a lot about just I don't even know if I pinpointed exactly, but a lot of things about control, about not even maybe trusting the process.
Mm-hmm.
Letting go of so the biggest thing was letting go of my expectation of having very transformative sessions. So I was putting my pressure on myself and the clients to have breakthroughs.
Yep.
So what happened is it was not happening because I was putting all of
force an outcome. Yeah.
Yeah. So, because I love science and I love details, I love all that stuff, but, it keeps you in your head. It keeps you in the cognitive area and really away from your heart and what we're really trying to do here, which is just go with the flow and let your mind go. And I just got to the point where not so rigid on the technique, because our mind will go to wherever it needs to go, right? Like it just knows where it needs to go. So just trust that, and just let go and just hold space. So that's where I am, going from a very technical, even like a psychiatric nurse. I did that for a few years. Mm-hmm. Had to unlearn a lot of that stuff, and now I'm just like, yeah, it's cool. Let's try this. Completely
You
different
sound so
thing.
different than you did 8 weeks ago.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a transformation. I'm a different person, like Patty, right? Same thing. Like, saw Patty is a different person. I feel like a different person right now, and
Yeah.
I couldn't be more thankful for this process.
That's awesome. And
you
can you pinpoint, I know there were several turning points for you, but is there a specific like session that you gave or received or something you worked through, which is kind of like a turning point for you, where you let go of a lot of that control and just kind of trusted the process? I don't know if there was or not, but can you think of one?
Yeah, no, there was. I had a lot of issues with my mother growing up, and there was that whole thing of me wanting to feel loved by her, which I never did. And a lot of my behaviors, a lot of my decisions in life, everything was around that. All of it was, I have to do everything that makes her happy, like everything, and then I got to the point where I wasn't bound by that anymore. I was just, let go of needing that, knowing that I'm loved by so many people and I've appreciated, and I have an amazing family, so I feel loved all throughout, and I'm not stuck by that I feel like that. I don't know if I'm able to express it that well, because I'm still feeling the effects of those sessions, like those 2 sessions. Like, I feel like my body is still readjusting to these new perceptions and these new feelings. So
Were these traumatic memories that you had to process, or is that what it was?
Yeah, very, very traumatic.
Yeah. Well, you sure seem happier now.
Oh, thank you.
So
I am.
that's awesome. Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that.
No problem.
Let's see, Vanya, how about you? Love to hear your story.
Hi, so I wrote mine out as well, so I'll be reading it. Okay, so taking this course was such a great experience for me. I was never one to push myself too hard. I like living in my little bubble of comfort, but believe it or not, there isn't much fun living in that little bubble. So I needed a change. I was drawn to this course for the ability to help people, and I hoped it would help me at the same time, and decided to enroll. And then I waited. And I waited a little bit more. And I even emailed Dr. Perkis asking if it was crazy that someone like me, a 30-something with an accounting degree, that just became a stay-at-home mom with 2 boys and no psychiatric healing experience, would even think of doing this course. He reassured me it was a great idea. So I thought some more on it. And then the email came out for the deadline to enroll. So I finally did it. So I realized throughout this time that I don't really connect with my emotions, just like Jade had said, and that dreaming was hard for me. I could dream things, but it was more like bitter wishes that never had any action or any idea on how to do it. Dr. Perkis asked me multiple times to fully dream and do a session on that desire, and I just couldn't. Dreaming involved goals and action, and I realized that that scared me. But this course has pushed me and made me ugly cry on camera, and that freaking helped me immensely. Over the 8 weeks, I learned tools to reset my days and get back on track, which was something I struggled with daily, and realized new real beliefs of myself through my sessions. But the biggest thing is that through the 8 weeks, I helped many of my friends and some strangers break through some goals and beliefs, and that just fills my soul. I felt like I was finding my purpose and believed that, yeah, maybe it was crazy for a 30-something with an accounting degree that just became a stay-at-home mom, 2 boys, to become a certified Aroma Freedom practitioner, but it was also right. I'm still figuring out my niche, whatever, but I'm getting closer, and I'm excited to take action and not just sit on this and get going, because Aroma Freedom process is powerful and it needs to be shared, and I'm excited to do just that. So for all of you who are watching and have been on the fence, just do it. I don't think opportunities like this get put on your heart on accident. So.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, it's been such a pleasure to see you grow as well. And, you know, I remember in the beginning, you definitely approached things from that kind of cautious accounting type perspective. And, you know, I remember you saying things like, well, gosh, you know, I'm doing these things, but I'm not having any like big emotions really, like, and there's not really any big problems either. Like, it's just kind of all in this zone. And yeah, and I did ask you multiple times to kind of to dream beyond this. And because this is one of the lessons that I've learned over the years, that, you know, we all do this in one level or another. We kind of construct a comfort zone and live within that. And this happens subconsciously. We don't have to think about it. It just happens to all of us. And so, you know, whenever we are, our life, if we find ourselves, like you say, these, what did you call them? Bitter dreams?
Oh, bitter wishes.
Bitter
Like it's like-
wishes. I've never heard that term before, but I'm going to start using that. Not promoting it, but I mean, I'm going to,
yeah.
I think it captures something that a lot of, you know, yeah, I wish that, but there's some bitterness, like, but there's not, but I can't do that.
Exactly.
And when we realize with AFT, oh, there's a negative, everyone here's watching, that's a negative thought. How do you feel when you think you can't do that, right? And you're like, you can already see where this is going. And just by following that, and yeah, and it took courage for you. I really honor your courage to do something that's really beyond what you've been trained to do before. And then to even, there was, I remember you had a big session, and then, you know, the next week showing up. Can I share what happened? Just that,
That's fine.
well, Vanya, God bless her, she was willing to be the practitioner when we were doing some practice. And as we were going there, like, I kept butting in. It was kind of my fault. I kept butting in and say, oh, well, maybe you could do it this way, or let's do this. And it totally threw her off, because here she is, she's got her script, she's trying to follow it. She wants to be an A student. She's trying to do all this, and I'm throwing X, Y, and Z in there. And I mean, she didn't show it on camera really, but you know, she really did fine. But then the next week she came in and expressed how hard that was for her. You know, for someone like Vanya, who's a high achiever, who's used to probably getting straight A's, or I'm just guessing, but you know, to have to put yourself in a situation where you don't know what's going on, or you don't know everything. And so we just process through it though, you know, and this is what we do in class. If something comes up, and we just take that opportunity to shift it. And luckily, because of the tools we have, you know, took us all of 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and all of a sudden, like, okay, I'm good now, and you can move on. So thank you for being willing to play and being willing to, you know, stick with it. And you're going to be a great practitioner, and I'm really excited to see where you take this. That's great. Okay, let's see. Is there anybody else in the class who's not on video who would like to share? Sometimes we have folks in class who just have to have the video off for some reason. Okay. Any of our guests have any questions? Misha, or I see Christine there. Any questions or comments or anything about what you've heard? Misha, yes.
Well, I had expressed this to you, and so I'm looking forward to the class. I have a story already, so I'm just excited to do this too, because I've been working with one of the graduates already for about 5-6 months, and I am just raring to go. I think somebody made the comment, it seems like you're listening for where somebody's going and now I'm just doing that, because every day I've been covering 1 or 2 things in the vault, and just taking it all in and going through the AFT sessions and all that, just taking it in. So I'm a little dangerous right now. I'm trying not to reach out because I don't know. I don't feel like I know quite enough. But I do have a question for someone like me who's at that point where I've just kind of experienced it. I'm learning a tiny bit. And if you can't answer this, that is okay. But I do have a friend who is going through a bit of a crisis right now. I'm going to be getting on the phone with her, on Zoom with her as soon as we're done. She went to the ER last night, ended up being vasovagal syncope. She passed out, but I think it was emotional connection, because I know what's going on in her life. And So I need to, just a suggestion from the wisdom that's in the room right now, how to go about supporting her through this, not knowing much.
Great question. I have a couple of ideas. And anyone else can jump in as well. So one of the things, and this is a question people will ask as well, how do you help someone who is currently going through something traumatic, or like they just, like their parent just died, or they, you know, just lost their job or their house, or they're just have a medical situation. It's really with the Aroma Reset. The Aroma Reset is the best way to just get somebody where they are now, just to kind of calm their jets and to give them that place of balance. So if you haven't reviewed that yet, you know, just review the video on the reset, simple process, and you know, you're not going to hurt her with a reset. And then really, I mean, you're not going to hurt her with any technique that you do, you know. So but you know, start there. And if there's fear, if there's anxiety, if there's whatever is going through. On a more technical note, have you watched the video on the vagal system, the vagal nerve, and how that relates to emotions and what we're doing as well? That's, I mean, not that you need that for her specifically right now or to tell her about that, but it'll help as you go to see the connection between, you know, the emotions and the body and everything like that. And also, you know, what kind of trauma is she carrying? This is, you know, a question to kind of keep in the back of your head. And we don't, you know, assume anything, but you're going to be listening. And, you know, there may be that you know, find yourself going there with her, that often it's unexpressed, resolved trauma that, you know, is carried around like a weight and then gets triggered when situations get difficult. And there's a quote one of my previous students had, which I really love. It says, pain which is not transformed is transmitted. And just as another way of saying that, you know, if we have stuff we're carrying that we haven't dealt with, we're going to suffer from it, and then other people will suffer as well. Not so really talking about your friend exactly, but just kind of people don't get in that state for nothing, you know. So that's just something to keep in mind. But, you know, and if any of the students want to speak to this as well, have any of you had this experience where you felt like you were over your head with someone, or you wanted to help them, but you were too early in the process to feel confident? Any of you have? And then how did that go for you? Just curious. Any of you want to share that?
I can share.
did. Oh,
Go ahead, Vanya.
Vanya, then Jade.
I did, but it was a close friend of mine as well. So I kind of just fumbled through, like, I just kept going back. Okay, so what are you feeling? Like, I just kept going through like the steps, and we eventually got around to what it was. And then there was one, it was, you'll learn about this too. It's like it was an AFT TMRT hybrid. So she kind of got into like a deep memory, and we hadn't learned that yet, but I kind of just went through, and you kind of feel it, like I felt it in my gut, like, okay, we just needed to sit on this memory. Don't use that. Do not use sit on this memory. Okay. Just whatever you learn from this.
Thank you.
Forget I said that. So we kind of like circled around that memory until like it cleared and she was able to go back to her goal. So just keeping with like the process, and you'll fumble around and they don't know that you don't know what you're doing. And we got back on course. So it takes a little bit of practice, but we all started from not knowing it. But either way, it'll be great and you'll help them.
Thank you, Vanya. And thank you, Dr. Perkis, too. That's great.
Jade, if you want to share something too.
Sure. Yeah, I had it was AFT that I could tell was a TMRT. And, you know, I did fumble as well through it, and they didn't know that I didn't know. And, you know, I kind of did a little bit TMRT because we weren't quite there yet. And then just kind of circled back. And, you know, luckily she is a close friend of mine. So I've been able to revisit that and help her and assist her. But she wasn't left like traumatized or anything like that. She just had a really heavy emotional detox. She had like a headache, and, you know, she just like, I just want to go to bed, you know, because I asked her the next day, I was like, hey, how are you feeling from yesterday? And she was like, a little emotionally hungover, you know? So, and everything was okay. And she didn't even realize that was something that was on the radar that was bothering her. So it worked out really well, actually. So you know, if you stick to the script, you really can't go wrong, to be honest with you. You can't. So if when in doubt, stick to the script and circle around until it's clear, and it should be okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Camille and then Patty.
Yeah, I graduated in I guess June, and one of the main people I wanted to help was my husband. He's been going through things for many, many years, and of course, why would I think I could just help him in one session? But I really didn't expect to have as much trouble as I did. And this was, well, he was the first person I tried, and I thought, oh gosh, you know, I don't know where I'm going with this. And he kept saying, yeah, the oils smell really good. I thought, well, that's not what I want to hear. You know, they just smell good. Oh, okay. But you know what? I mean, I've worked with him off and on for the last 3 or 4 months. Just the last couple of days, you know, we've done a session or two, and it hit me. I don't know why it took me this long, but he said, you know, he said it again, boy, those oils smell so good. They're so calming. And he had said that before. And I thought, now, wait a minute, they're doing something. I was expecting to hear certain things, but instead I mean, he was saying it a different way. They were helping. But and then he was able to share how the memory was changing and how he didn't see the image as much anymore. I thought, you know what, he has said this before, and I did not pick up on it. So I'm learning and learning as continuously learning. And instead of expecting to hear certain things, I needed to be a better listener and realize things were happening, maybe slowly. And this, I think, is going to take a while, perhaps, with him, because there's a lot of layers for him. But I just wanted to share that you can't go wrong with it. It may look different than you expect at first, but hang in there with it. And that's what I'm doing with my husband. And I'm kind of excited to see where it'll go.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's also a great example of how, again, when we have an expectation of how things are going to go, and it doesn't go the way we think it's going to, we may think nothing is happening, but often people are experiencing things behind the scenes, and the way they express it is different, or you notice over time changes happening. So, you know, it's easy to have an expectation for what we think it's going to look like. And, but part of what you're going to get through the whole process, you're going to work with enough different people. That's why you do all this practice with different people, not just the same person, because you want to experience people who process slowly, people who process quickly, people who have a hard time setting a goal, people who don't have a hard time setting a goal, so that you, by having all those experiences, obviously that helps you with that confidence level. Let's see, Patty, Patty, yeah.
Hi, Misha. I just wanted to say, I've had the privilege to work with some people with some really traumatic memories as volunteers. And a lot of times, all I knew to do was just follow the script, like Nate said, and open my heart and just be there as a compassionate person. And somehow or another, it's really magical. Those oils do the heavy lifting for us, and just be the friend, be the person that's there to support and be compassionate and witness whatever this person needs to transform. And it's a real blessing to be chosen to be that person. So I honor your desire for help.
Thank you so much, Patty. That's encouraging.
Thank you. Jen, were you going to add something?
Yeah, Patty kind of said it. I'll just affirm what she said, and even what Camille said is just staying open and curious. And it's holding space, I think, is more important. It's like the space that you bring as practitioner is the gift that you're actually giving. And then the technique has its own miracles. But when you're in doubt, you stay trusting that this technique will do what it's supposed to do. And that as long as you have the 4 parts of the memory complex, you're good. So even if you make a mistake and you do them out of order, as long as they have all those pulled up before you breathe in the oil, you can stay in a place of trust, and it always does miracles.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I'll just add, of all the things that we do, possibly the most important is just naming feelings. And if we do nothing else but have a friend we're talking to put a name to what they're feeling, that by itself is going to start a process moving. And then put a name and smell oils, even better. Put a name, find it in the body and smell oils, even better than that, and so on. So that's why people can, and we see this sometimes with people sending their live observation, and it's kind of a mess. It's all over the place, but they still get a good result. Well, that's because there was enough good stuff happening that they still brought them in a positive direction. So don't be afraid to use it, and trust your intuition. And when in doubt, just be a good friend, and you'll be fine. And let us know. And take notes of what worked and what didn't, and then bring that to class, because that's what you'll see. Most of class is just asking and answering questions. People are coming in with all kinds of questions, and then you learn for next time. So thanks.
Thank you. Just a quick question. You mentioned the aroma reset and the vagal nerve video. Is that all in the what's it called? The archive?
Well, just make sure you would have gotten 2 emails. Make sure you're looking at both. One of them is the actual course itself, the practitioner course, and the other one is for the training archive, which is really just kind of like, that's something you get as a bonus, and that's kind of like for the lay people. I think reset might even be in there, but if you open up the course itself, you'll find a video on aroma reset right in the first week. And then the vagal nerve one, is that in you guys? It might be a bonus video. If not, then it's in the practitioner thing, but I'll get it for you if you need.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, any other questions, folks watching at home?
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a cold, so I don't have much of a voice. This is
That's
Christine.
okay.
What is TMRT?
It stands for the memory resolution technique. It used to be called traumatic memory release technique. So it's in the book. It's basically for memories that you already know are either traumatic or emotionally charged. So
Okay.
it's kind of, you could think of it as our trauma release. And so the thing with the TMRT is that it's something that can, as you've heard different people talk about, it could spontaneously emerge at any point in the session. So that's basically where we say it like you stumbled into a trauma, like you're just doing a reset on someone, which is a simple little 1-minute technique to clear emotion out of a current situation. But sometimes you start doing that and then a memory pops up and opens a can of worms. So, this is why we go through the process, and in week 4 is when we actually dive into TMRT. So there's this period of time where people are starting to, like the Sorcerer's Apprentice, they're starting to fiddle around, and then stuff starts happening and they're not sure what to do. So that's why we try to get into it, as soon as we can. But so that's what that is.
Okay, great. I just started the book, and I did a free session with a certified person and had a remarkable time. So I relate to, I forget the woman's name who said that there's a reason that we're here. There's a reason this was put on my heart. And I truly believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, good. Yeah, the polyvagal theory videos and the bonus videos. Great. So another thing you'll find, of course, is that we're always evolving our understanding and bringing in, you know, little tweaks. Like just during this this last 8-week process, I made a major upgrade, which isn't in any of the books yet, which is how we end our sessions. You know, originally we started ending their sessions always with an affirmation. And then a few years ago, discovered the Aroma Boost, and that was an affirmation which has an action step built into it, and a way of kind of energizing towards that. So then I said, okay, you can end a session with the regular affirmation or the boost affirmation. Then just a few weeks ago, I introduced a third option, which is asking questions you would ask yourself to keep things opening further. Either, you know, why is it so easy for me to get clients? Or, you know, how am I loving towards my family today? Or whatever, it's ways of opening it up at the end. So you'll see that wherever you're coming in, we're kind of coming in at the cutting edge of what we're doing. My goal is always to keep it as simple as possible. And, you know, even though like when I first created the technique, you know, it was a simple 12-step process. I said, why do we even need a certification? Just read the book, follow the steps, and you'll be fine. But then I realized, you know, although the technique is simple, people are complicated. And so people come in with a lot of complexity. And so what we're learning in certification is all the subtleties that could occur, and also ways to be even more efficient. So ways to, a session that would have taken an hour, maybe it only takes 10 minutes if you know how to go right after what you see coming up. So it isn't necessary to know how to do it. You could still get there the other way, but kind of some tweaks we learned along the way. So, and just going forward, I'm going to be taking this next 8-week session as an opportunity to kind of consolidate a lot of the notes of the things we've learned over the last 5 years of doing this process, in anticipation of another book coming out that really pulls all this stuff together, because there are a lot of complexities. But at its heart, it is, if you remember some super simple concepts, which we'll go over, you know, about the 4 parts of the complex and everything, then you'll be fine. So, great. Let's see. Any other question? No. Vanya, you asked me a question on a ticket a couple of days ago. Why don't you go ahead and ask it here, because other people might find it a good question too.
Okay. I've been asked a couple times, like after a session, people have asked, like, okay, like, is this memory going to come back up and trigger me again later down the road? And so I said, I hope not. Like, I hope the charge is gone. Like, of course, memory is always going to be there, but hopefully you can look back at it and the negative charge will be gone. But you might think of a different memory that kind of, you know, another layer of the onion, I guess I kind of explained it as. But I didn't know if you've gotten that before, or like what the best way to explain that to someone would be.
Sure. I think it's kind of a complex answer to that. So I'm going to approach it from a few different points of view. So the question, just to repeat it, is basically, once you process a memory, are you going to have to, might you be struck with that same memory again and feel just as distressed as the first time you processed it? My short answer is no, it's not going to be, it's not the same memory anymore, I guess is one way of saying it. Okay, because the memory is not just is not just like a film strip or like a movie of here's what actually happened. A memory always includes our emotional reaction to what happened and our mental assessment of what happened, as well as any visual or auditory, you know, part of what happened. So the memory literally changes as we work on it. So there's a bunch of caveats I'm going to give you, but so if you have a memory and you're processing it with AFT and TMRT, going through several rounds, and you're clearing it so that when you think of that memory, there is very little emotional charge. Most likely you will not later have an emotional charge to that memory. So, and there are some times when the memory itself dissolves. I know that sounds strange, and some people don't believe that, Have any of you guys ever experienced that? Like you worked on a memory and like you literally can't remember the memory anymore? It's happened to me. And when a memory loses all emotional charge, there's no reason to remember it anymore. So if your brain says, I got other stuff to focus on, it could literally go away. So that's a possibility. I'm not saying advertise, hey, I'll make your memories go away. Okay, but that can happen. But certainly the emotional charge very frequently will go away. But more important than that, what happens is you assess it differently. It means something different to you. So what you're really doing is changing the meaning of your memory. And our personal history is something that we build our life around. We build our life around the good things that happen to us and the positive assessments of ourselves and experiences we've had, the bad things that have happened, our negative feelings and assessments of ourselves. We kind of build our personality and our life around that. And when you take something that has a negative charge and you process it so that either A, there's no charge, but very frequently what will happen, and you guys will see this, is spontaneously there'll be some new wisdom that starts to come through. New wisdom, not just, oh, I survived that, I'm okay. But even beyond that, I'm a strong person, I can survive lots of things. So now you actually have something positive coming out of what had been something negative. So, and I'm giving a very long answer to this, but just kind of a lot of things to think about. It does happen sometimes that a person will have to return to a memory multiple times to clear it. Absolutely, that can happen. And my sense with people, and I'll tell people this, most of us have certain core themes in our life. And so because of that, we have certain core memories that there's something about the memory that just captures so much about our life in that memory that we might do a goal around this, this, and this, and they all seem to go back to that same memory. Now, it may be that when you go back to that memory, it doesn't have that same charge that it did the first time, but there's still something there. And I'll tell you this briefly, it's kind of a funny story, but for myself, as I had been doing all my processing over the years, a memory that had come up for me early on was I was in high school and my brother worked at Burger King. So we went to Burger King and they had all this stuff on the menu, and there was so much stuff on the menu that I was looking at it and I was kind of like backing up, like trying to like take it all in. And I ended up tripping over this, they had this like display of apple pie boxes or something. And because I tripped, I knocked them over, I guess what it was. So it was kind of an embarrassing moment, right? Here I was and, knocking over this thing. And I went back to that memory. And so the first time I went back to that memory, I had to clear, there was feelings of shame and humiliation and what's wrong with me and all those things. But I cleared those out. So like at the end of that session, like it really didn't bother me anymore. But then I found over the course of the next several months, there were other sessions I would do on myself. I'd go back to that same memory and it was no longer distressing in the same way, but it was kind of like it captured something about me, which I think has to do with I'm trying to take in the big picture and read all this stuff and see everything. And because of that, I'm ignoring something around me, right? Not really traumatic anymore, but it expressed something about who I am. It's my personality or my whatever, cross to bear in life. So I kind of view some of these memories as these, I don't know what the word is, these touch points that, so you can return to memories multiple times. And each time you return, it might be from a different angle. But generally, once you've cleared it, so I don't know a short way of explaining that to somebody. Does anyone else, any of the other practitioners want to take a knack at this one? Jen, yeah.
I've experienced the same thing Dr. Perkis is talking about, because before doing this work, I've had memories I couldn't even talk about without being a hot mess. And just recently I was like, oh, this one again. And it was a very much different experience. But when clients ask me that, I will say that in my short version of it is yes, but it won't have the same flavor. I will say that where it won't it will come back, but I said there can be multiple layers within a memory, multiple meanings and multiple emotions. And so we're clearing layers. I said it will never, same thing Dr. Perkis says, it will never come back this strong. But I sort of leave it at that because I don't think they need to know much more. They just need to know, yes, it may come back. It may not come back as strong, and it may be to clear something else.
I like her answer better. Yeah, it might come
I
back.
think it's a common,
You.
it's a common question, so I feel like I've answered it enough times.
Yeah, it might come back, but it's not going to have the same flavor. That's great for an eating psychologist to say too. It won't have the same flavor. It won't be as intense. And return to it as often as needed to learn whatever you need to learn from it. You know, you could even say something like that. And by keeping things casual and kind of light, then that expresses what the experience really will be. So I love that. Let's see, any other questions, comments? Okay, let me see. Can any of you share, I know some of you have already touched on this, but if you had a dream for Aroma Freedom, for where you'd like to see it go, both Aroma Freedom as a movement and also your involvement, the places you would like to take it. If you were to dream big, what would that look like? Just be curious. Patty, yes.
Some interesting things have happened today. And
Great.
thank you to Vanya for helping me get out of my terrified space over it. It looks like I will not be doing sessions at the little store. Some things have changed in the legal part of how the store is being operated.
Sure.
And in the same day, which is today, I had this little hit. 5 of the people that I see on a regular basis, that's every week, are chiropractors. And I worked for 13 years at a chiropractic college doing fundraising. And my little bell in my head went ding-a-ling-a-ling. You know a lot about chiropractors. Hello.
Yep.
What are you thinking? And the chiropractic college where I worked is having a homecoming in 2 weeks. And there'll be maybe 700 chiropractors there. And at least 130 to 200 of them I know personally. So I never really thought about working with chiropractors. I mean, you know, they're kind of outliers, just like healers and everything else. We're all alternative people. And so I have 2 weeks to put together a brochure. I'm going to have a bunch of them printed and show up and talk to everybody that I know there and offer a free session with whoever has 5 minutes to do a reset and see what surfaces from that. And when I did the life coaching class, one of the things I thought I would do is work with chiropractors. And now that has come back around without even me thinking about it. It just showed up in my space. And so anybody, you know, what I found is with the 5 chiropractors that I'm working with now is, okay, so they're having trouble in their business, but it doesn't have anything to do with business. It has to do with whatever memory surfaces. So I can do that.
Absolutely.
And I'm so excited to have a place to start.
Absolutely.
That feels very comfortable for me with a bunch of people that I already know.
That's fantastic. And that may not have occurred to you if you had kept going at the store that you were at, right?
Right. So, and I had been asking for like, what was his, Joe Dispenza says in one of his books, if you're going to ask the universe to reveal something to you, make sure you ask for something so big that you won't miss it. You know, it can't be a butterfly flying by.
Uh-huh.
And this thing that has happened at the store was so big for me that I can't sign a contract with them. And so it was almost like there was this big ball of information coming at me today and just changed my trajectory. And I'm kind of excited about it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Gotta keep us updated on that. That's awesome. And just a couple comments on that as well. What was your first reaction when this whole thing blew up at the store?
I was pretty terrified. I was really terrified because it has to do with the legal part.
Mhm.
And I'm not real brilliant on that side of business, but I knew it felt wrong. So the person that I know and I've known for over 20 years was one of the partners in the store and is no longer a partner in the store. And it was like, that was the only reason I felt comfortable, because I knew her level of integrity. And the other person, I'm sure, has just as much integrity, but I don't have a history with that person. And I just didn't feel comfortable. So, and I have this 13-year history with all these crazy chiropractors. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how did you move from terrified to not terrified?
I don't have any idea. Vanya worked with me. She fixed it. I smelled the oil. She asked the questions.
What'd you do?
Did 2 rounds and I was fine.
So I sneak attacked a boost like you did to me that one class. And so we've been trying to meet before class on Thursdays, and so we were kind of talking, and so we did a little boost on her to try to calm her down and see clearly about the situation, and then ended up with her action steps and needing to do the brochures for this homecoming coming up. So it was good.
That's fabulous. Yeah, seems like an unusually quick move from terror to I'm in action doing things. Oh wait, that's what Aroma Freedom does.
Right.
Yeah. Her hands were all sweaty. She was all flustered, and then by the end of it, she was excited and good to go.
Yeah, and this is really just a reminder for you guys that you guys are going to have boulders rolled in your path. And as you're going along, you're going to have those moments where like, what I thought was happening can't happen. They just canceled my rent on me. They just canceled my contract. I just broke my leg, like whatever it is that happens. And remember your tools, just like we say to our kids, remember your words. Like here, it's like, remember your tools. And if you aren't in a space to bring yourself through it, call up one of your practitioner buddies and have them take you through. And then you have whole new opportunities. That's fabulous. Let's see, Jade.
Yeah, I definitely, and I mean, I already shared what I want to do with AFT going forward, but I would absolutely love, and I know Dr. Perkis, you and I have spoke about this in regards to bringing this into the licensed massage therapist as a CEU. I would absolutely love to see this in the list of CEUs for massage therapists and bring this into that population. I think it's just, that would, we're healers in general, because I'm a massage therapist. We're already healers. We're already so in tune with the body. And I think it would be really amazing. So I've reached out to my friend and we're planning a lunch so I can get the information for the CEU and the process, because she's already been through it a couple of times. So this way, I can contact Tallahassee or whatever, but it's just easier for me to speak with her about it because she's already walked through it to get that information and the process and so forth and paperwork. So
Sure.
That's what I would like to see, AFT.
That's fabulous. And let me know too, if you need me to sign off on something or fill out paperwork as well to make it a approved modality or something. That would be great.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. Anyone else? Jen, yes.
I touched on mine a little bit, but I would say I have like 2 different visions. One of them is not really, I don't know if it'll be mine, but I'd like to see it, right? So one of them is that I don't think is connected to me exactly, but I would love to see this blow up in the Young Living community. I feel like not enough people know about this gem. And so I would like to see it on the Young Living stage. I always thought I would be talking on there because I visualized myself as a speaker, but my niche market isn't business. I do enjoy working with Young Living business leaders, and I do that even though I do the food stuff. I have like a small pocket of people, but I make sure they work with like a business person or their own upline, because I want people in Young Living to see the value of, yes, IPAs, but mindset, IPA mindset, working alongside each other. And it's, why not use our own products for mindset? So that's something I hold in my heart. I'd like to see this ripple effect, and everyone just know Aroma Freedom. Like, I don't like, and I feel like we're doing the grassroots, and I'd like to see in my lifetime that this is like front and center for a convention and things like that. My own personal vision is to really see, I want to cultivate my own community of women in the realm of food transformation who really value the inner work and understand the impact of mental and emotional health when it comes to weight and food behavior. And so that's my vision, is to really cultivate this community of women who really want to do the deep inner work and lasting sustainable transformations.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that's basically, whatever visions we have, just move in that direction. People can write letters to Young Living. People can get on the horn with their diamonds and crown diamonds and mention it. We've had, back when we moved to Utah a few years back, and we were kind of lobbying to try to get an AFT kit, because we thought how great it would be if doing a session with people, here's your kit, all done. At one point we had a letter writing campaign. We had a ton of emails that they sent over to product support, but it wasn't the right time, and so we moved on. And that's where, you go up the hill as long as, until you realize either it is or isn't where you need to go. But doesn't mean it couldn't circle back around. And as far as business goes, that's also, obviously there's a huge opportunity to help business people of all stripes and all types of businesses, because business is nothing but one problem after another. I mean, that's what business is. And so being able to navigate that in a creative way with fresh ideas and fresh enthusiasm is really so critical, that it's something, and of course, any of you or me or anyone could take this into corporate settings as well. Trainings for sales managers, trainings for anyone really. So that's great vision. Thank you, Vanya.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you
Actually,
Oh, no, I was just going to say, for like, in order to create that ripple effect within your own uplines, like you said, speak to the upline leaders, because they're always doing different kinds of retreats. And so for me, I'm always like praying to get my name out there in regards to Aroma Freedom. So like my Royal Crown Diamonds, like, I'm having a retreat in November, I want you to come do Aroma Freedom. Like, yes. And then like someone else is doing another Crown Diamonds doing an event at their house. I have a lot of Royal Crown Diamond, Royal RCDs and CDs, like within 10, 15 minutes of me. So another one's doing an event at her house, and someone was like, we need AFT there. And someone tagged me, and I'm like, yes. And like, so for the new practitioners, it's like, reach out to your uplines and start letting them know this is available, because they want that kind of stuff at their retreats. And it's sort of a nice way to create that ripple effect.
Absolutely. Yes. Thanks for that. Yes, Vanya.
I think she might be a diamond, Nicole Neesby. I don't know, I follow on her Instagram, and she actually was just talking about AFT and how she just had a session and how amazing it was. And so I was messaging her like, I'm learning how to do that, but I don't know where. Yeah, but I actually reached out to someone. She's like a cross line, and she does like this like happy hormones hangout, and they're doing one next year. Well, it's the last one for this year. So I messaged her, I'm like, well, maybe next year, like I could be one of the speakers to do like a group session. And I was really proud of myself to do that, because I was just taught to go to college and get a 9-to-5 job, and that's how you live your life. And so dreaming into this whole coaching program and how to like bring this out has been a big stretch for me. So I'm so excited on Tuesday when we had that heart meditation thing, and I actually kind of like, actually finally had like a vision of where I could kind of take this. And so I need to like not lose that. And now I'm trying to like, okay, like how can I do this? So I'm excited, but yes, this is very out of my realm, but here I am doing it and I'm excited.
So proud of you.
Thank you.
I love
Thank
it.
you.
That's awesome. And yeah, so just to say a few more words about Young Living, and Young Living is it's the lowest hanging fruit, right? Everyone in Young Living, they already love the oils. You don't have to convince them to use oils. You got to like stop them from using them. Like, so they want to use oils, and it's really just getting on their radar for, here's something I can offer. And like I said in the beginning of this class, a lot of people have had AFT and they think they know what it is because, oh, I had that once 3 years ago, or I was in a thing one time. Yeah, it was okay. Sometimes it's the second time that they're exposed to it that the light bulb really goes off. So even if someone says, oh yeah, I know what that is, still offer them a free session. And by the way, offering people sessions is the best way to get that light bulb to turn on again. So anyone you know, whether in Young Living or anywhere else, who has any influence, and if they light up with a session, then who knows where that will go. Like all these chiropractors that you may, you know, each chiropractor that you meet, Patty, has 100 or 200 people that they see. So it doesn't take many of them to light up with it to create more work than you know what to do with. Yeah, so keep just working up the ranks and getting, you know, if you need more practice, you guys need to always stay in practice with this. If things are getting slow, just reach out to some Young Living folks and get that going. Marlene, yes.
No, so I just wanted to say I want to take it to Brazil. I just want to take it to the whole country. Whatever's gonna happen, you know.
Fantastic.
I think it's very possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And we have it translated into Spanish, but not Portuguese yet. So, but yeah, maybe you'll be someone to help
Yeah,
with that. That's fabulous.
I'm working with that.
That's
Still
great.
working on it.
Yeah, love it. See, Nicola is asking on the chat, can you find a way to do AFT on animals? I will tell you, I don't do AFT on animals, but I know people who do. I'm not sure how they do it. I'm assuming that these are people that are somewhat animal intuitive, and which I know animal communicators are great. We have an animal communicator that we talk to now and then every few years when there's an issue with one of our cats, and she is just spot on. It's crazy. So I know there are people that have that gifting, and so I can imagine those people could easily do AFT with an animal. It'd be no problem at all. Is there a way for people, the everyday person, to do it? Again, maybe if we put a question out to our Facebook community and see who's done stuff like that. I do know one person who, she does a lot of equine therapy. She's technically a massage therapist, but she's a horse lover and rider, and she works with a lot of people in the horse community. And people, for instance, you'll see it very commonly, they'll have a fall off a horse, and then so there's a trauma there, and then their system is all messed up now, and so they're uncomfortable around the horse, and because the horse is super sensitive, the horse is uncomfortable around them because they feel their anxiety. So she will sometimes do a session with them sitting on their horse, or even like touching their horse, and so that there's that fear, whatever it is activated, and then they're clearing that out as they go. So I don't have anything to add on the pet question or animals. No. Okay, I see an animal there, Misha has. So okay, guys, great. This has been a lot of fun. So proud of all of you. Those of you who are close to your certification, go ahead and, you know, complete it. Do what you need to do to get through the finish line so you can help all these people that you want to help. Anyone who was on and, you know, has a question for me, back channel, you know, feel free just to reach out to me afterwards. Otherwise, everyone have a wonderful night. Let me just stop recording.